Hello and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Marin and here you will find a little beauty, a little books, and a little teaching content. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around and join me in my little corner of YouTube. Today's video is going to be my August reading recap, where I am going to go over all of the books that I read during the month and then give you some stats and a tiny little book haul. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now in August, I did not do as much vlogging as I'd intended to. So I did post 2 vlogs. I'll link them down in the description. Some of these books were discussed during those vlogs, so check them out if you would like more details. But I'm gonna go ahead and just give like very quick overviews of each of the books since I did not do a ton of vlogging. You wouldn't have heard my thoughts on them. So that's what we'll do. I am going to, as always, start from my least favorite book of the month down to my favorite book. This one's not going to be as long because I didn't do as much reading in August. So let's go ahead and just roll on into it. So coming in at number 8 was the August pick for the Literally Dead book club, and that was A Twisted Love Story by Samantha Downing. I did not really like this one. I gave it 2.5 stars. I didn't like the characters. Felt like the story itself was kind of a mess, and yeah, it just wasn't my thing. So not my favorite. I did vlog this one, so again, that's linked. I'll link it up here as well if you want to check that out, but I really did not like this one. At number 7 was my buzzword pick for August. The buzzword for August was a body part. So for that, I read Barbed Wire Heart by Tess Sharpe, heart being the body part. I really thought I was going to love this one because I read Far From You a couple of years ago, gave that one 5 stars, thought it was phenomenal. Barbed Wire Heart, however, fell a bit flat. This was another one that I had a hard time connecting with the character, the main character. Her name is Harley. Harley is the daughter of a guy who's kind of like the one responsible for running drugs around this like rural part of North California, and Harley is being groomed to kind of take over his drug empire, and she doesn't really want to do it. So this is all about how Harley's going to attempt to get out of doing that. I feel like this should have worked because there was a decent amount of action, but I was just really lacking the emotional connection to her, to the situation, to the other characters. So it just kind of fell flat for me. So in the end, I only gave this one 3 stars. This is another one that I did talk about in that same vlog I just linked. So check that out if you want to hear more. At number 6 is Persepolis 2, The Story of a Return by Marjane Satrapi, I believe is how it's pronounced. This one was read for the Final Book Support Group week-long readathon that happened early August. This was another one that just fell flat for me. I want to say up front, August was a rough reading month for me. It took me a bit to like get my reading mojo back, and I felt like the books that I was reading suffered because of that. So I am not sure if this was a me problem or a book problem, but you're gonna see that it wasn't the greatest reading month. This one I did give 3.5 stars. In this graphic novel series, you are following a girl as she grows up in Iran prior to the Islamic Revolution. There we go, that's the word I'm looking for. Volume 2 is about her life when she leaves Iran and is in various places in Europe, kind of trying to find her way in life. And ultimately she decides to go back home to Iran, and it kind of talks about what her life is like after the revolution has happened and the things that result from that. So earlier in her life, she had a lot more freedom. Obviously, when she returns, they are under Islamic rule, so there are a lot of regulations and rules regarding how people can interact with each other, the clothing they have to wear, that kind of stuff. So it just kind of talks about her life. This was one of the wordiest graphic novels I have ever read in my life. I feel like it actually would have been better just as a biography in word form, because there was so much reading per page that it took me forever to read. So not my favorite style of story presentation in this respect. And the story itself also, I don't know, again, I lacked that emotional connection. So in the end, I only gave it 3.5 stars. Coming in at number 5 was Aurora Burning by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. This is the second book in the Aurora Cycle series. You are following a squadron of teenagers, basically, who find themselves caught up in like a battle for the galaxy. Aurora is a stowaway. She's from like 200 years in the past, and she's found herself in the future. And it's about the squad's attempts to keep her safe. And things go very, very wrong in this second book. I did not like this one nearly as much as the first one. I felt like it was a bit of a mess. There are some things that happen that annoyed me. So the main person on the cover is Cal. Cal is Sildrathi, and you get a lot more of his backstory in this book. I liked that part quite a lot. There is something that happens that makes like the whole squad like turn against him. And that part just made me roll my eyes because it didn't make a lot of sense to me personally, with the fact that they're preaching things like your family doesn't make you, you know, you are who you are regardless of who your family was. But when it comes to Cal, that turns out to apparently not be the case. The ending has quite the cliffhanger, so it definitely makes you want to read the third book, and I am going to do so. First of all, this is on my 10 series to finish in 2023 list. So I am going to read the third book. I want to see how it all ends up, but I felt like this was kind of just a mediocre middle book. Not my favorite. Hopefully the ending will make up for it. So in the end, I only gave this one 3.5 stars. At number 4 is Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby. I have been wanting to read his backlist ever since I read Razorblade Tears. I also read his newest release this past June. So Blacktop Wasteland was his second book. Actually, there's another one that I also am hoping to read at some point. And I was really hoping I would love this the way that I loved All the Sinners Bleed and Razorblade Tears. But alas, that was not the case. The main character in Blacktop Wasteland, Beau, is very morally gray, which can be very, very interesting. However, I don't know that that's how it worked out for me. I liked him decently enough. I liked the story, lots of action. This is definitely like an edge of your seat thriller, but again, I just kind of lacked that emotional connection with him as a main narrator. I kind of felt more connection to some of the side characters, and it just wasn't as good, in my opinion, as his 2 most recent releases, which does make sense because you get better at writing the more you do it. So I am still going to read his first book. I can't remember what the name of that was, but Blacktop Wasteland was only a 4-star read for me, whereas the other 2 were 5 stars, so kind of a bummer, but I still did enjoy it. And the audio is fantastic, so I would recommend that. Coming in at number 3 is Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. This was supposed to be on my May or April TBR, and it took forever for the audiobook hold to come in at my library. But I'm really, really glad that I decided to go with the audio because I really, really enjoyed the narration. I felt like it made the humor of the book more funny, more enjoyable, and I just had a really good time with it. This is a pretty solid mystery. It's like a family drama or a women's drama, if you will, with some laugh out loud funny parts, some parts that kind of touch you emotionally, some things that surprise you. The entire time you are not sure who actually died. So you know from the beginning that someone has died, but it takes until the actual reveal for you to figure out who it is, or at least it did for me. So I did not know how this book was going to end. I thought it was really, really well done. The one thing that prevented me from giving it 5 stars was that, again, the emotional connection to the characters was lacking, but this was a really good time. Really, really enjoyed it. would definitely recommend, and now I want to watch the show to see how they compare. At number 2 is the second book in the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire, which is Down Among the Sticks and Bones. I read Every Heart a Doorway last year, perhaps. I can't really remember, and I really did not like it. Like, I gave it 3 stars, but I probably could have given it less because I didn't love it. This one, however, I very much enjoyed. I don't know if it was like the creep factor or just the way the story was told. This definitely has horror elements. I don't know, the setting really worked for me. Again, it's not 5 stars because emotionally I didn't feel for the characters, but I felt like the story was quite engaging. I was entertained. I was curious to see where it was going. So I gave it 4 stars, and I will be checking out book 3. I'm hoping book 3 is more in the vein of book 2 and not book 1. So we'll see. But as of right now, I do plan on continuing the series. And then my favorite book of the month, number 1, is Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie, which I gave 5 stars. It is the one and only 5-star book for August. Now, talking about like the emotional connection being missing, I didn't necessarily have that with this book either, but there was just something that kept me thoroughly entertained about this book. The mystery was like super twisty. The way that Poirot figures it out, you know, you as the common reader cannot figure that out, but it was just interesting to watch him kind of unravel who was responsible for the murder, put all the pieces together. I had a really, really good time. So I would definitely be interested in reading more from Agatha Christie. If you would like to recommend another one of her books for me to check out, please do that down below because I would love to do that. But this was definitely a 5-star. I had such a good time. The audio was great and I would highly recommend it. All right, so we're done with the rundown, which means now it's time to talk some overall reading stats. In August, I read 8 books, which works out to a total of 2,675 pages. It breaks down to 5 audiobooks and 3 physical books because I did not read any ebooks or mixed media books in August. Again, my reading was kind of slumpy, so I mostly listened to audiobooks, but that's okay. That's just how it worked out. In August, I read 4 standalone books and 4 series books. The 4 series books break down to 1 series that I finished, which was Persepolis 2, that finished off that series. I continued 2 series with Down Among the Sticks and Bones and Aurora Burning, and then I started technically a series with Murder on the Orient Express, although I do not have any plans to read that series in its entirety. In terms of author breakdown, I only read 2 new authors this month, and that was Liane Moriarty and Agatha Christie. The other 6 authors were authors that I had read from before. In terms of genres, I read 4 thrillers in August, which is quite the high number for me. So 4 thrillers and then 1 each of fantasy, biography / nonfiction, mystery, and science fiction. I read 7 adult books and 1 YA book, and I borrowed 6 books from the library and or Scribd and or Libby, and I only read 2 books that I actually owned. So not great there, but you know, that's okay. I track my star ratings on like whole stars. So even though I gave some half stars, that doesn't show up like in my pie chart, which you'll see like when I do my next wrap up. So it breaks down to 1 2-star book, 3 3-star books, 3 4-star books, and 1 5-star book. And now we're gonna go ahead and do my tiny little book haul because the only new book that I picked up in August was my book of the month pick for the month, and that one was Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. Now I've been hearing some like mixed things about this. I'm actually avoiding the reviews like intentionally because I don't want to spoil myself or have like a thought put in my head. I'm personally really looking forward to this, so I know that, you know, not everyone has loved it. I've loved her previous books, so hopefully I will love this one as well. But this was the one and only book that I picked up during the month of August. And that's it, y'all. That is the end of my August reading recap. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more from me. My hope is that I am going to be able to do some more vlogs during the month of September. If you're curious about my September TBR, That's linked up above. You can go check that out. I am going to be focusing solely on series books in September, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.